Hey guys, so today I just want to complete the coordinate geometry I've been doing for some time now. This will be the third part. Into the first question will be from a midpoint of a line. The first question. The first question says find the coordinate of the midpoint of the line. Following line. The following line, which is -2 -5 and 3 comma. So how can we find the midpoint of this line? In midpoint, we should have in mind a formula to find the coordinate of the point. You should know that the midpoint of a line is actually a point, and I told you earlier that from the previous video, I told you that a point is of the y and the x, or the x and x respectively. So the midpoint of a line will be x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2. So this is the midpoint of a line. And with this formula, we can solve for any midpoint of a line we are asked to solve. So going on with the question, it says -2 -5. From this, you know this is x1 and this is y1. This is x2 and this is y2. So from the formula, we have x1 to be -2, x2 to be 3 over 2, y1 to be -5, y2, this is plus, y2 to be -6 over 2. So this should be equals to 1 over 2, comma, -5 -6 over 2. And this is equal to 1 over 2, comma, -11 over 2. So this is the coordinate of the midpoint of this line, the line that these 2 points make up. This is the midpoint of it. So whenever you are asked to find the midpoint of a line, you are just to use this formula. This is the formula to find the midpoint of any line. So going to the next question. So in this question, it says find the value of p if the line that passes through -1, -p and -2p, 2 is perpendicular to the line 8x plus 2y minus 17 equals to 0. Now, I want to tell you something about perpendicularity. When two lines are perpendicular, you should know that the gradients of the two lines m1, m2, when they multiply themselves, they should give you -1. This is the guide we use to solve this question. So since these two lines are parallel to themselves, you should have in mind that their gradients multiplying themselves would yield -1. So with that in our mind, we should find the gradient of the first line and the gradient of the second line, that is m1 and m2. Finding the gradient of the first line is made up of these 2 points. Finding the gradient of the first line, we know gradient is m equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So with this in mind, this is m1, this is equal to y2 is 2 minus y1 is -p over x2, that is -2p, minus x1, that is -1. So this is equal to 2 plus p over -2 plus 1. We can't actually, -2p plus 1. We can't actually go further from this since we are looking for p, and 2 cannot add up with p since we don't know what the value of p is. So with this, we say our m1 is 2 plus p over -2p plus 1. So our m2 from this line we know this is an equation, so we can rearrange that equation. 8x plus 2y minus 17 equals to 0. We can rearrange this equation in the form of the general equation of a line. The general equation of a line, as I always tell you, is y equals to mx plus c, where m is the gradient of the line and c is the intercept, the line made with the y-axis. So rearranging this as this, so with this, our gradient is the coefficient of x, just as from here. So the coefficient of x from this line is -4. So therefore our m2 therefore our m2 should be -4. So we have our m1 and our m2. Why not multiply and equate them to be -1, as the equation has said? So multiplying the numerators, we see that 4 times -4 times 2, that is -8. -4 times p, that is -4p. And this is over -2p plus 1 equals to -1. So cross multiplying, we say this is -8 minus 4p equals to -2p plus 1 into a bracket times -1. So distribute this. So we have -8 minus 4p equals to 2p minus 1. So this implies that I should write it at the bottom. So by taking like terms, this is -8 plus 1 equals to 2p plus 4. So this is -7 equals 6p. So this implies that our p now is equal to -7 over 6. And this is the value for p. And this is our answer to the question. So when you are given two lines that are perpendicular to each other, you should always know that the product of their gradients is equivalent to -1. The product of their gradients is equals to -1. So we should go to the next question. Okay, here's the next question. It says calculate the angle between the lines y equals to 4x minus 7 and x minus 2y plus 1 equals to 0. So this line has been sketched on a graph, as you can see it, where this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. So with what we can see that this line is the y equals to 4x minus 7, and this line is the x minus 2y plus 1 equals to 0. So with what we see here, they asked us, we are asked to find the angle between these two lines, and the angle between these two lines is simply this angle here. So we are asked to find the angle between the two lines, and to get the angle here, we already know that from this diagram, this line y equals to 4x minus 7 makes with the horizontal line, which is of the x-axis. It makes with the horizontal line the angle alpha. So the angle this line makes with the horizontal is alpha, and the angle this other line makes with the horizontal is beta. So the angle between them should be alpha minus beta, because when you take off beta from the whole of this, you would have this angle. Yes, that's just a logical thing. So alpha minus beta is actually the thing we are asked to find in this question. So how can we find alpha and beta? So we can find alpha minus beta. That's just the deal now. So the formula of a gradient of a line is m equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We actually do not need this one, but we only need the one equals to the tan theta. So I have actually said from the first video I made on coordinate geometry that the gradient of a line is equal to tan theta. So with using that, we can find the gradient of each line. The gradient of this line equated to tan theta, and the gradient of this line equated to tan theta, where alpha and beta are the theta here. So for the first one, m1, to find m1 from this equation, we already know m1 from this equation should be equals to 4, right? Because from the general line of equation, from the general line equation, we know the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x is the gradient of the line when y does not have anything at the front of it. So m1 is equals to 4, but m2 cannot be said to be 1 because we need to rearrange it in the form of the general line equation. So for m2, for m2, for m2, for m2, we have x, that is it, x minus 2y plus 1 equals to 0. Rearranging this, I should share the book into 2. Rearranging this, we say 2y is equal to x plus 1, taking this to this place. So we have 2y equals to x plus 1. So dividing through by 2, you see y is equals to 1 over 2x plus 1 over 2. So from this, we know m2 is equals to 1 over 2, since the coefficient of x here is equals to 1 over 2. So for m1, which we know to be 4, we also know m1 is for the first line, and the first line makes with the horizontal axis alpha. The angle of the first line to the horizontal axis is alpha. So 4 is equal to tan alpha. Mind you, don't use beta because beta is for the second line. So the first line makes with the horizontal axis alpha. So we use 4 equals to alpha. So if 4 is equals to alpha, alpha should be equal to the tan inverse of 4, right? And so tan inverse of 4, which is our alpha now, from calculator, I got approximately 75.96 degrees. So that is for our alpha. For our beta, which is m2, and which is equal to 1 over 2, and this is as well equals to tan what? Tan beta, because the second line, which is x minus 2y plus 1, which is this line, it makes with the x-axis beta. The angle beta, it makes with the x-axis. So we use tan beta. So applying the same thing we did here, we say beta is equal to the tan inverse of 1 over 2, where 1 over 2 we know is half, 0.5. So from calculator, we have that beta is approximately 26.57 degrees. But we are not just to find alpha and beta, but to find alpha minus beta, because alpha minus beta gives us the angle between the two lines. So from there, we see alpha minus beta is equal to 75.96 minus 26.57. So this is equal to 49.39 degrees. And this is the answer to the question. So whenever you are asked to find the angle between 2 points, you should always watch this video. I mean it.